Well, my name is Shawn Bagley, and I serve the youth here at Alpine, and it's a delight to be here with you this evening. And I'm really excited to serve the youth and to be here with you guys, and to wrap up this sermon series on idolatry. This is the third of three, and we've learned quite a bit. I hope this has really benefited you. If you're just jumping in at the tail end of it, don't worry. This can be a standalone sermon. But there's three things I want you to walk out of here knowing. Three parts of this sermon. The first one being a good working definition of what idolatry is. The second one we're going to look at today. Does it sound like I'm in a bucket, dear Elijah? Dear Elijah? Okay. There's a hole, right? No, there's a hole in my bucket. Okay. The second thing we want you to walk out of here with, or I want you to walk out of here with, is to know the effects of idolatry. And the third thing we want to look at today is the escape, how we get out of it. How we get out of it. So those are the three things: a working definition, an example of what idolatry is, the effects idolatry has on us, and the way of escape. That's what we're looking to do. There was a high school girl one day that was heavily burdened with sadness and depression, and one of her friends, who was a Christian, came to her aid and was talking to her and was looking to point her attention, direct her eyes to Christ and what He's done for her and how much He cares for her. And she responded by saying, "That's great. I know I'm a Christian. I know what it means to have the promise of heaven and that He loves me, but what good is that if no boy will pay attention to me and take me on a date?" And you see, that's what idolatry is, of when we put something in between us and the Lord, where something gains in importance, where we base the level of hope, the level of peace, the level of purpose, the level of contentment in our lives based on how other people view us, based on if we get something, based on if we lose something. That is what determines how we feel overall with our soul. That's what idolatry is. Idolatry is when a person, place, or thing becomes more important to us than Jesus. And so we want to look at, that's our working definition and example. What we want to see, guys, is with idolatry, you'll become what you worship. That's the effect that idolatry has on us. We're going to look at Isaiah chapter 6. And Isaiah was a prophet living in a day where idolatry was running rampant in the people of God. The people of God in the Old Testament were the Hebrew people. They were the Israelites. They were the people of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and David, and Solomon. And during the day that Isaiah stepped on the stage as a person who heard from God and then let people know who God was and what He was all about, he has this vision in Isaiah chapter 6, a vision that trumps all other vision. I think I need another word for trumps all other. We need another word for trumps, because I think, anyways. So someone help me with that. But something that trumps anything, supersedes. Thank you, English teacher over there. Thank you. Yes, usurps. There we go. There's another grammatarian. I don't even know if that's a word. It is. I claim it. I trademark it too. We see, though, that Isaiah steps on the scene and he sees this glorious vision of God seated on a throne with angels that were flying around him, and just they were so amazed at his perfections, of God's perfections. Another word in the Bible is His holiness. They were so overcome with how great God was that all they could say to one another is, "Can you believe how perfect He is?" And so instead of saying that, they said, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord our God Almighty." And Isaiah sees this and is overcome with, wow, this great picture of the awesomeness of God. Another biblical term is the glory of God was shown around him as something greater than anything you and I will ever see. I went to Disneyland with my kids, and for their 60th anniversary, and they supposedly, they sold me on this because they're like, the fireworks are going to be even better, and there's an electric light parade or something. I think that's what they call it. And if you really want to feel old, I hadn't been to Disneyland for like 20 years, and I went there, and I'm like, man, everything's so much better. We had like Christmas trees on skateboards when I was going to Disneyland, and now it's like there's lots of lights, and there's fireworks everywhere, and there's Tinkerbell, and there's Peter Pan, and there's Minnie, and Mickey Mouse, and Goofy, and Donald Duck, and there's oohs and ahs just naturally coming, and there's kids crying they're overwhelmed with joy. And I would tell you, there's glimpses of glorious settings on earth, but what Isaiah saw, guys, totally supersedes. See? I'm learning here on the fly. Totally supersedes anything that we might see in this world. He sees the glory of God in Isaiah chapter 6. And he calls out to God, and God calls out, who will go before me and let these people know how great I am and get them out of this idolatry and bring them back to center their lives on me and worshiping me. And Isaiah says, well, I'll do it, but I sure am unclean. I need to be cleansed. And we see that God comes and brings the coal to his lips, and he cleanses Isaiah, and he sends him out. And most people, we stop there with Isaiah chapter 6, but there's more. There's more that Isaiah has to say. He says, God says to Isaiah, go and tell this people, listen hard, but you aren't going to get it. Look hard, but you won't catch on. Make these people blockheads. That's a good insult, in case you guys are wondering for a new adjective. With fingers in their ears and blindfolds on their eyes, so they won't see a thing, won't hear a word, so they won't have a clue about what's going on. And yes, so they won't turn around and be made whole. God is letting us know, the people of that day and today, the effects of idolatry. He's saying that it desensitizes us to hearing from God and following God and sensing God. He says that they might hear, but they might hear the words, but they're not going to really get it. They might see clearly who I am, but the idolatry has become so entrenched in their hearts, minds, and souls that they won't be able to turn around. That idols make us desensitized. They cloud our vision to see who God is. They plug our ears to be able to hear God's word. It prevents us from seeing God's work in our lives. Idolatry is really, really serious and has dreadful consequences to us. So have you ever done a bad trade? I'll tell you my idea of a really bad trade. You see, I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. Don't judge me, okay? I've already been judged enough, and we've already judged you enough. But I've been here for almost 16 years, so I'm kicking my bad habits. Well, at least I'm trying. But I was raised from the infancy to hate Los Angeles teams, okay? If there should ever be a split up of a state, according to Northern Californians, okay? It's Northern California and Southern California. But if we were to do that, Southern California steals our water, and they're okay with that. I don't know how G slept with himself. I really don't. They're thieves. Him and Scott, you guys talk to them. They steal our water, and that's why we haven't broke up the state. But anyways, I was taught from a little bitty kid, hate the Lakers. And when I was growing up in 1996, I graduated from high school. Yes, kids, there were schools back then. Okay, we used paper. It was really weird, and a pen. It was really, 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 really weird. But anyways, and they had been in a drought for over 8 years at that time with not having a title. The last title they had won before then was 1988, when Magic Johnson, James Worthy, A.C. Green would just drill the Warriors. They would just rip my heart out and just pound it. I go thinking, I hate Magic, I hate Worthy. I mean, every insult. And then, one of the worst trades of all time, they were in an 8-year drought. It was so beautiful. And Jerry West, the general manager, the logo, pulls off one of the greatest steals ever. He trades Vlade Divac. Some people call him Floppe, okay, because he'd flop, okay? He was like a fish out of water. He would really try to get a foul called. Vlade Divac for a 17-year-old young man out of Philadelphia, a budding superstar named Kobe Stinkin' Bryant. I think that's what his last middle name is. You guys can Google it to see. Kobe Stinkin' Bryant, Kobe Warrior Killer Bryant. And from 1996, when I was 18 years old, until just now, this year, we finally got rid of him, okay? He brought another 5 titles to LA, and I had to hear about it. And now I have a desk right next to an LA Laker fan. His name is Scott Krebs. And he loves to remind me of the 16 titles that LA Lakers have. And I like to tell him, well, you don't have a football team, so be quiet, okay? Well, now you do. Now you do. Now you do. I'm sorry, G. I can tell you something, a much worse trade than that. Because you rewind that and you show the Charlotte, then Hornets, now the Bobcats, and who knows what they're going to be in the future. You show them Vlade Divac's career and Kobe Bryant's career, and there's no way you trade Kobe Bryant for maybe anybody of this generation. Take that back. Tim Duncan. You trade Kobe Bryant a second for Tim Duncan. But that's another story, that's another sermon. You're not here for that. You're here for Jesus. But that's a bad trade. If you press rewind, you go and interview the general manager of Charlotte, hey, would you trade Kobe Bryant again? No, I would trade the whole team to move to the first place in the draft to draft him. But guys, I tell you, a far worse trade is trading the almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing, gracious, loving God for a person or a thing. There's no worse trade that you and I can do, and yet we do it. And so I want to look at more about the effects that idolatry has on us. Idols distort our beliefs and our feelings. Here are some ways that idols distort it. We have these thoughts of God exists for me, or we have these thoughts of I'm the center of the universe. God is my errand boy. I need this person or thing to feel secure. God just wants me to be happy. Or I'll be happy if I have ... fill in the blank. If I have this amount of money in my bank account, if I have this level of approval at my work, if I have a really good job title that other people will be like, wow, that's pretty impressive. If I live in this neighborhood, if I drive this car, if this person will notice me, you fill in the blank. We all have different struggles, but that's how idolatry just distorts us. It messes up our beliefs and our feelings. There's some other ones, how idols distort our feelings. If I don't get, achieve, score, amount to, then I will feel like a failure. Since I did that thing or made that mistake or sinned so horribly or failed so badly, I can never be happy again. Because I blew it, messed up, sinned after I promised I wouldn't, should feel guilty, worthless, and ashamed for the rest of my life. Those are some of the examples, guys, of what idols do to us. They destroy us. We never do enough for idols to make us content and happy. It was interesting, on Tuesday, September 8th, 2015, a British Airways jet caught on fire in Las Vegas airports, sending smoke billowing into the air after suffering what the pilot described as a catastrophic failure at the left engine. Flames can be seen from the runway. And there's pictures of this burning jetliner in Vegas were completely riveting. But as the plane burst into smoke and flames, some observers saw something even more astounding. People, knowing that they were not to grab their luggage as they were looking to exit the plane, were grabbing their luggage and risking their lives so they could have their possessions and their things. And some might say, well, what's the big deal, Shawn? Well, the FAA want to evacuate a plane within 90 seconds. But if everyone gets their luggage, and you guys know, if you've ever flown something, you guys see, maybe you're like this. You're like someone who brings something way too big to fit in there, and the flight attendant kind of looks at you like, are you seriously trying to fit this on the plane? This won't fit in the luggage rack, let alone there. But they're just like, they bring like a jackhammer, like, poof, poof. They're trying to fit it in there. If everyone tries to get their luggage, I just messed up my mic. Is that better? Okay. If everyone, when they're trying to evacuate, instead of it being 90 seconds, it can take up to 7 minutes. And you picture a cabin that is filling more and more with smoke and risking the people's lives who are behind them and their own life. Here's what one person said it quite well. People love their carry-ons more than life itself. People love their carry-ons more than life itself. You see, the next slide we're going to talk about is that you and I will become what we worship. You and I will become what we worship. Psalm 115, 4 through 8 says this: "Their idols are merely things of silver and gold, shaped by human hands. They have mouths but cannot speak, and eyes but cannot see. They have ears but cannot hear, and noses but cannot smell. They have hands but cannot feel, and feet but cannot walk, and throats but cannot make a sound. And those who make idols are just like them, as are all who trust in them." Psalm 115 picks up on the idea that Isaiah 6 was looking to drive home to us. It adds on to it a bit of a different viewpoint of what idolatry does to us. So I want you to picture with me an idol. Let's say how some people would build like an idol, like a totem pole, like where it has a head and has eyes and has a nose, kind of a small nose, a mouth, ears, okay, arms, hands, legs, and feet. And here's what God is saying: these things are handmade. These things have mouths, but they can't speak. They have ears, but they can't hear. They have eyes, but they can't see. They have hands, but they can't do anything. They have legs, but they're made of wood and gold and silver. They can't do anything. They can't save you. And also what God is warning is, if you follow a deaf, blind, lifeless, speechless, empty, false idol who cannot see, cannot hear the things of God, then you or I will become just like that. You will become incapable of hearing God speak to us, are incapable of seeing what God has to communicate to us. We'll be unable to experience God's beauty, presence, and power working in our life. We won't be able to enjoy His love or forgiveness because we are like the dead piece of wood that has no spiritual soul or feeling. It's like God saying, you want to love, worship, serve, and obey an earthly idol made in human hands? Go ahead, but remember this: you and I will become just as spiritually dead and emotionally empty as that idol that we've replaced Him with. God is saying, in effect, this is a quote from Pastor Dave, we can become like that dead and spiritual, lifeless thing, or we can become more like God. We can become, when we center our lives on Him, we can become more loving, more kind, more gentle, more courageous, more of a servant, more of a conqueror, more of a risk taker, more of a joy giver, more purposeful, more about helping others pursue God, more in control, more helpful, more secure, more safe, more joyful. You and I have to make the decision. Just remember that you and I will become what we worship. You and I will become like the God that we worship. You see, here are some examples of what I've experienced with my idol worship. And I've heard other people, and I've been serving in a church setting for almost 16 years. And yes, I feel every year of that. It feels like 32, but that's another sermon. Here's some things that I've experienced, and I've heard people in my office say, I don't see God working much in my life. I see Him working in others' lives, but not mine. I don't feel close to God these days like I used to. I'm in a dry spell, and God seems far away. I'm not hearing much from God in my prayer life lately. I just can't worship with my heart like I used to. This is a result of idolatry. You see, a scary thing that God says to us sometimes, it might not seem like a scary thing, but sometimes God says, go ahead. You want to go away from me? You want to follow after other things and people? There you go. He doesn't force us to do things. He wants us to willingly come after Him and follow Him. You see this happen with a guy named Saul. He was the first king of the Hebrew people. He started off really good. He was head and shoulders over every other man. He was a tall, big, handsome. It talks about he was handsome. It talks about how he was very successful. And as the king of Israel, he started off really, really well. He honored God. He did what was right. He acted with justice. But then the power and his success went to his head. And his ego grew more and more. And there was a time where The arch rival of the Hebrew people was the Philistines. You might call them Philistines, but you're wrong. It's the Philistines, okay? And they had a guy named Goliath who was really tall. He was really strong. He was a trained warrior who challenged all the men of the Hebrew men. Hey, one-on-one, mano-a-mano. You think UFC was cool? We will fight to the death. And whoever wins, their nation wins. And Saul should have been the guy who went out there. Although Goliath was huge, every time this guy, every day, Goliath would come out and challenge, who's man enough to whoop me? And all of the guys would like, not me. Can I go home now? And in steps the youngest brother of several brothers, who wasn't even in the army, who came and saw this guy and saw him defy the God of the Hebrew people. And he was offended. His name was David. Maybe you've heard about him. And he comes and he says, this guy is talking all this trash about our God? Does he know who our God is? Let me have at him. And with one stone in his slingshot, he was a shepherd boy, so he had time to practice. He got 5 stones, he only needed 1. He got that slingshot. You think about an expert sniper. This young man just went up to him and says, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to cut your head off. And the birds of the air are going to have a feast because you're so big, Goliath. They're going to think that they inherited the hometown buffet. They're just going to feast on you. And he laughed. You bring this little chihuahua to fight me? Are you for real? Yeah, I'm for real. Boom, gets him with 1 shot. Lands him dead. Cuts his head off. And I can imagine that like, and everyone just gets brave all of a sudden and charges the Philistines and takes them down. And then there was a pop song. Taylor Swift was around back then, and Twitter was blowing up, and they wrote this song about David and says, dude, check this out. This is great lyrics. Saul, he's killed 1,000, but David, he's killed 10,000s. Yeah, check this out. Saul's killed 1,000, but David's killed 10,000. And when this song from Taylor Swift, T Swizzy, I think is what Pastor G calls her, when this went throughout and it reached the ears of King Saul, he was livid. And he tried to kill David. David was on the run. And he knew it was wrong. David never did anything wrong, but he pursued him anyways. And he put God aside and he let the idol of ourself, the idol of the flesh, the idol of the egotism, just continue to grow and grow, and his heart grew harder and harder and harder. And God had distanced himself from Saul, and he was quiet. And if you guys have been in a relationship, maybe a marriage, where you've done something wrong, you're not aware of it, and all of a sudden your spouse is quiet, and the quietness is meant to be really loud, and we're not getting it. Guys, don't act like I'm the only one who's ever experienced this. Don't act like I'm the only one like, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. You know what I'm talking about. When the wife's quiet, really silent, we're in trouble, okay? And Saul's in a major battle, wants to hear from God. God, do I go and attack these guys or not? And God was silent, trying to get Saul's attention. Will you turn to me and really repent, or you just want something from me? And Saul wasn't going to have it. He wasn't going to wait. And so we see here in 1 Samuel chapter 28, verse 6, he asked the Lord what he should do, but the Lord refused to answer him, either by dreams or by sacred lots or by the prophets. And we see that after that, Saul went to another idol. He went to someone that was like a fortune teller. He went to someone that he totally threw his life away. And we see that Saul lost everything. Eventually, he lost his life, and his sons died with him. He died in disgrace. He was, if you ever read a story of someone who started off so good, was so high and then fell hard, King Saul's on your top 10 when it comes to the Bible. Someone who started off so great, he had so much promise, he had so much talent, and he throws it all away because of his egotism, because of his idolatry. You see, Bill Murray is more than a funny guy, apparently, although he's funny. But he says this, what stops any of us is we're kind of really ugly if we look really hard. We're not who we think we are. We're not as wonderful as we think we are. It's a little bit of a shock. And this is a true statement about humanity. about us. We don't like looking at ourselves. We can easily see what's wrong with other people, right? We're experts on, you want a top 5 of how you're screwed up, neighbors? Here's what neighbor A, we're really good at seeing what's wrong with other people. When it comes to ourselves, oh, no, we minimize it, we rationalize it, we put it aside. We all get stuck. You see, I one time in my life, one of the idols was my career. And I wasn't aware of it. Other people around me were aware of it. God was aware of it. But it's one thing to be told that you have idols. It's another thing to really experience what happens because of our idols. Isn't it? Like, you could be told you're a sinner, but it's another thing to really experience your sin and the results of it. And that's what God does with idols of He lets us feel it. He lets us existentially really feel it and sense it in our hearts and our minds, that He might wake us up to, we've got to change. So the third point, guys, is the way out. How do we get out of this? How do we escape? Idols must be removed and replaced. Ezekiel 14, 4-6 says this. Tell them, this is what the sovereign Lord says. The people of Israel have set up idols in their hearts and fallen into sin, and then they go to a prophet asking for a message. So I, the Lord, will give them the kind of answer their great idolatry deserves. Therefore, tell the people of Israel, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Repent and turn away from your idols and stop all of your detestable sins. Now that might sound a bit punitive or a bit judgmental, but actually it's a way of grace. God's saying, it's not too late. If you find yourself sitting here and maybe your pulse is quickening a bit, maybe you're feeling a bit of a conviction about what's going on with your life, maybe you've made some wrong turns, there's a way out. This is a way of hope. The God of the Bible, the God of grace from the Old Testament and the New Testament lets us know we don't have to stay trapped to serving idols and throwing our lives away like King Saul and so many other people have. There is a way out. We can replace, we can get rid ourselves of idols and replace it with someone. We can't just get rid of it and not fill our hearts with something else. We worshiped our way into idolatry. We have to worship our way out of idolatry. How do we do it? I'm glad you asked. The way out, guys, is to see what Christ has done for you on the cross. There's no greater scene, there's no greater proof I can give you to how great God is and how much He cares for you, how faithful He is, how good He is, how loving He is, how benevolent He is, how glorious He is, than Jesus Christ, the Son of God, crucified in our place. You see, Isaiah 6, remember what it talks about what happens, and Ezekiel talks about what happens when we get into idolatry, right? We can't see God anymore. We can't hear God anymore. We can't sense His presence like we used to. And on the cross, Jesus took the punishment. He took the fruit of our rebellion. He took what happens with idolatry. He took the brunt of it on the cross. You see, if you look at and you study the life of Jesus, whenever He talk about God, He talk about it in a foreign language to a lot of people. He talk about God as His Father. But on the cross, He asks a rhetorical question that has an obvious answer. My God, why have you forsaken me? He does not approach God as His Father because God the Father had lost the relationship with God the Son. He lost everything on the cross. He lost the presence of God. He couldn't hear God anymore. He couldn't sense God anymore. Why? Because He was taking the fall for our sin. That's what happened. The way out is to see how glorious God is, that Jesus, God the Son, would lay down His life willingly for us to pay the price, to be our substitute, that we can get out from idolatry. You see, God the Father gave up His Son. God the Son gave up His relationship with God the Father. And all of that for us. All of that so we could get out of idolatry and center our existence and our life and our purpose on Jesus Christ. And when you and I see how great God is, how good God is, And we turn and say, I'm tired of this, God. Forgive me. I don't want to be dead anymore. I want to be alive again. I want my heart to sense you. I want to see you. I want to see with your eyes. I want to hear what you have to say to me. I want to sense your presence. Well, guys, that's what the cross does. Amen? That's what the cross does. We worship our way into idolatry. We have to worship our way out of it and replace those idols with Jesus Christ. That's how we rid ourselves and get off that beaten path and get on the narrow path with God. That's how we abandon our idols and find out what life's all about. There's no greater way God could show us that He cares about us than He gave His Son for us. I've got 3 kids, and there's no way I would give any of my kids' life for myself, let alone my friends. And I surely wouldn't give it to one of my enemies. Give my kids. I had my daughter, how old is she? She's getting way too old, way too fast. 8 years old. She was in class and some kid said, I'm going to shoot you. And she told me that after school. I said, what did you say, my beloved daughter? Yeah, someone said he's going to shoot me. I said, well, you go and tell your friend that you have a dad that's really, really tall and overweight and who will not let anyone touch you. I'm your dad. You tell them that. Dads protect their kids. Dads, they realize, godly dads realize, and I'm not saying I'm great and awesome, but that there's nothing more valuable than our kids. And God the Father loved us so much that He willingly gave His Son in our place. There's no greater way God could ever show that He loves us. And so there's an invitation, guys, for wherever you're at in your journey with God. If you're looking to start a new one, that's how you start a relationship with God. You trust Him. You place your trust in Him rather than yourselves or other idols. If you've been walking with God for a while, we just say, God, forgive me. I turn away from that. I rid myself of that. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to follow you. I believe that you took my punishment on the cross, and you give me a connection with God, a fresh start. He'll welcome you right back because of what Jesus did on the cross.